Leader Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison of Texas. She is the sole woman on the Senate Banking Committee. Okay, we got that in. Nice to see you, Senator Hutchison. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Larry. Good to be here, as always.
All right, so you blocked the vote today, and I want to ask you, there's a lot of news reports that the Republicans are going to put up their own financial regulation proposal. Can you corroborate that?
Yes, Republicans are working right now on an alternative proposal. And I think it's going to be very solid and very strong.
Where will it mainly differ, if you could just highlight? I mean, there are issues about the bankruptcy process, the liquidation process, the $50 billion fund, creditors, derivatives, and Fannie and Freddie, which aren't even in the darn bill. Right. So if you said, what are the 2 or 3 key bullets that would distinguish a Republican alternative, what might they be?
Well, first of all, you have said what we're saying. There are a lot of things in this bill that we don't like, but number one is too big to fail. We want to make it absolutely clear that too big to fail is over. And that's number one. Number two is this consumer agency. The more we hear about it, the bigger it gets. It's another big government grab. We have regulators, prudential regulators now. We don't want to kill the economy by over-regulation, like, for instance, Sarbanes-Oxley had such a negative impact in doing. Number three, we don't want the community banks to be left out of the Fed. We think it is very important not to give the big 50, the $50 billion and over, the advantage of lower costs because they are members of the Fed, but no one else is. And we think it's important that everyone have access to the Fed. We think it's better for the Fed monetary policy to know what's going on in the rest of the country. And it also, you know, makes it look like there really is a too big to fail if you're 50 billion and over. Those are some of the things. And then derivatives, of course.
Ms. Hutchison, what about Fannie and Freddie? There's a news ticker report that says a Republican alternative would do something about Fannie and Freddie, which many believe is the most egregious omission in the process so far.
Yes, I'm one of those, and many Republicans are. And I would say that there is a huge Republican push to have an alternative with Fannie and Freddie in it. And there will be an amendment on the floor if this bill gets to the floor on a Fannie-Freddie provision that starts the process of having much more transparency in Fannie and Freddie and reform there.
And reform. Let me ask you something. In terms of the Republican caucus, if Citigroup is on the road to failure, is it your view, is it the GOP view that it should fail and be liquidated? I'm not meaning Citigroup in particular, but I'm using them as an example of one of the large banks. A lot of people are skeptical that the day will ever come that we actually let one of these banks go. Would you do it?
Yes, I think you have to set a bar, because if you leave wiggle room, then you are saying, hey, you know, if you're really too big and it really would make a difference, then you can have this cushion. And if we do that, then too big to fail will never be or too big to fail will always be with us. So yes, we are. Now, there is a way that we can certainly give flexibility to the governing agencies for making sure that there's liquidity, that you can service your customers, but there should be the ability for any bank or financial institution to fail, any one of them, or we will never get rid of it.
So let me just get this down. We appreciate your time tonight after this very significant vote. The Democrats, according to reports, want a second cloture vote by Wednesday. Will you propose the alternative, the Republican alternative, before the next cloture vote?
I hope so. I really think it's pretty well written. I think it's very good. A very good piece. The Republican conference hasn't met to talk about it. I think it's only fair that everyone see it and have the ability to digest it. But I hope that we can, because I think it's very positive. It is better regulatory reform without hurting our economy in a time when we know it's very fragile.
All right, Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, we appreciate it very, very much after a key vote. Breaking news tonight. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Larry, always. Thank you.
All right, let me just weigh in.